Long ago, in a quiet land of grassy fields and rolling hills, there lived a kind young man named Joseph. Joseph was part of a big family. His father, Jacob, loved him very much, and Joseph had 11 brothers and one little sister. They lived together in tents and cared for sheep and goats. Flying above their camp was Simon the sparrow, who loved to listen to all the voices of the family. "Such a busy place," chirped Simon. Watching from the shade of a tall tree was Obed the owl, who always noticed the things others missed. "It's a special family," Obed said wisely. "God has big plans for them." Joseph was one of the youngest sons. His father Jacob loved him dearly and made him a beautiful robe. It wasn't just any robe, it was a coat of many colors: red, blue, yellow, and green, all stitched together in bright stripes. When Joseph wore the robe, he smiled with joy. "I love this gift," Joseph said. Simon fluttered above him. "You look like a rainbow," Simon chirped happily. Obed tilted his head. "It's a sign of his father's love," he said softly. But not everyone in the family was happy about the coat. Joseph's older brothers watched him and frowned. "Father gives Joseph all the attention," they grumbled. "He always wears that colorful robe," another brother muttered. Simon noticed their upset faces. "They look unhappy," he whispered. Obed nodded. "Sometimes hearts get jealous," he said, "but God can still do great things." One evening, Joseph had a dream. When he woke up, he was so excited that he ran to tell his brothers. "I had a dream," Joseph said, smiling brightly. "We were out in the field tying bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and all of your bundles gathered around mine and bowed down." The brothers crossed their arms. "What do you mean, Joseph?" one asked. "Do you think you'll rule over us someday?" Joseph blinked. He hadn't meant to upset them. Simon flapped his wings quietly. "Maybe it wasn't the best time to share that," he said. Obed nodded. "Sometimes we need to wait for the right moment." Later, Joseph had another dream. "I dreamed that the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me," he told his father and brothers. Jacob stroked his beard. "That's a special dream," he said slowly. "But we must wait and see what it means." The brothers didn't say anything, but they didn't forget. Even when his brothers were upset with him, Joseph still tried to be kind. He helped care for the sheep, brought food to his family, and listened to his father's stories about God's promises. Simon watched him closely. "Joseph has a good heart," he chirped. Obed smiled. "And God has a plan for him," he said gently. And as the stars sparkled in the sky that night, Joseph looked up and remembered his dreams, wondering what they might mean one day. The end. Joseph was a young man who loved God and his family. He lived with his father, Jacob, and his 11 brothers in tents near the green hills and quiet fields. They cared for sheep and goats and worked together every day. Watching from above was Simon the sparrow, who loved to fly over their camp. He often saw Joseph helping his father and smiling as he worked. "Joseph is always kind and cheerful," Simon chirped happily. But sitting quietly in the tall olive tree, Obed the owl noticed something else. Not everyone is smiling, Obed said softly. Joseph's brothers are feeling upset. One reason Joseph's brothers were upset was because of a beautiful coat their father had given him. It was bright and colorful, with reds, blues, greens, and gold stitched together. Joseph wore it proudly, and his father always smiled when he saw him in it. But when his brothers saw the coat, they frowned. Why did father give Joseph such a fine gift? One of them muttered. He treats him like he's more special than the rest of us. Another grumbled. Simon flapped his wings nervously. They're feeling jealous, he whispered. Obed nodded. Sometimes hearts get heavy when they feel left out. The brothers also didn't like the things Joseph said about his dreams. Joseph told them about the dreams he had, and they didn't understand. Does he think he's better than us? One brother said. Does he think we should bow to him? Said another. Their feelings grew more upset each day, and though Joseph still tried to be kind, the brothers couldn't stop feeling jealous. One morning, Jacob asked Joseph to go check on his brothers. They're far away tending the flocks, Jacob said. Go and see if they're well. So Joseph put on his colorful coat and set out on his journey. Simon flew ahead of him, singing softly. He's doing what his father asked, Simon said. Obed watched quietly. But his brothers' hearts are troubled, he said. When the brothers saw Joseph coming, they whispered among themselves. There he is, they said. It's our chance, another whispered. They decided to stop him. First, they took his colorful coat, the one they had stared at so many times with jealous eyes. Then they lowered Joseph into an empty well nearby. Let's leave him here, one brother said. But after a while, they saw traders traveling by on their way to Egypt. One of the brothers, Judah, had an idea. Let's sell Joseph to them, Judah said. Then we won't have to worry about him anymore. So they pulled Joseph out of the well and gave him to the travelers for silver coins. Simon perched on a rock nearby, watching quietly. Where is he going? Simon asked. Obed sighed. He's going far away, but God will still be with him. That night, under the stars, the brothers returned home with Joseph's coat. But their hearts were heavy with the choice they had made. And Joseph, on his way to Egypt, trusted God to be with him, no matter where he was. The end. The sun was hot, and the road was long as Joseph rode quietly on a camel, following a line of traders on their way to Egypt. He was far away from his home now, and his heart felt heavy. Perched on a tree nearby, Simon the sparrow watched sadly as Joseph traveled. Poor Joseph, Simon whispered. Obed the owl, watching from a tall palm, nodded. He's feeling alone, Obed said softly. But God is still with him. Joseph thought about his father, Jacob, and his mother, Rachel. He missed them very much. He thought about his 11 brothers and the day they took his colorful coat and sold him to strangers. Why did they do that? Joseph wondered as he looked at the dusty road ahead. It made him feel sad inside, but Joseph closed his eyes and prayed. God, I don't understand, he whispered, but I know you are with me. The traders were kind to Joseph. They gave him food and water as they traveled. One day, they saw tall buildings and big statues in the distance. There's Egypt, one of the men said. Simon flew overhead and chirped, "It's so different from home." Obed agreed. "A new place can feel strange, but Joseph is not alone." When they arrived in the busy city of Egypt, there were people everywhere. Camels carried heavy loads, and carts rolled by full of grain. Joseph looked around with wide eyes. Everything is so new, Joseph thought. But he remembered his father's stories about trusting God. "I can trust God, even here," Joseph said quietly to himself. Soon, the traders brought Joseph to a man named Potiphar, a captain of Pharaoh's guard. Potiphar saw that Joseph was strong and wise, and he brought him to work in his house. Joseph worked hard and did everything he was asked with kindness and honesty. "God, I will do my best here," Joseph prayed. Day by day, Potiphar noticed Joseph's good heart. "Joseph is different," Potiphar said. "Everything he does goes well." That's because God was with Joseph. Simon sat on a windowsill nearby and chirped, "Joseph's not alone." And Obed, high in a tree, said wisely, "God has a plan for him." Soon Potiphar trusted Joseph so much that he put him in charge of his whole house. Joseph helped manage the workers and took care of Potiphar's home. Even though Joseph was far from his family, he knew God was guiding him every step of the way. And at night, Joseph would look up at the stars and remember the dreams he once had. "God, I still trust you," Joseph whispered. And somewhere, far away, Simon and Obed watched over him, knowing that Joseph's story was just beginning. The end.